Today's lesson comes from Luke 24, 1 through 12, and speaks on the empty tomb. I'll read through the verses and then we'll talk about it. On the first day of every week, very early in the morning, the women took the spots that they had prepared and went to the tomb. They found that the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were wondering about this, suddenly two men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, he is risen. Remember how he told you while he was still with you in Galilee. The Son of Man must be delivered over the hands of sinners, be crucified, and on the third day be raised again." Then they remembered his words. When they came back from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11 and to all the others. It was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James. The others with them, he told this to the apostles. But they did not believe the women because their words seemed to them like nonsense. Peter, however, got up and ran to the tomb. Bending over, he saw the strips of linen lying by themselves and went away, wondering to himself what had happened. So we've got a lot taking place here, and I guess a couple things we've learned since I've read through the verses is, does anybody ever speak around here and it's like you're talking and nobody will pay you any mind or listen to you? That's about the way these women felt. You know, they had seen this and experienced this, and when they went to tell others, no one believed them. Because at that given time, women didn't have a lot of say-so. So I don't know if that was a turning point in the women's time era or something, but it's amazing how, you know, if man would have spoke at that time, they probably believed him. But it's funny not something happening. That could have been a turning point, I don't know. But let's talk about these verses. Verse 1. On the first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women took the spices they had prepared and went to the tomb. So, this right here says the women had come with Jesus from Galilee and also supported Jesus during his final season of ministry. The women had observed how Jesus' body lay inside the tomb. So they know that he was in the tomb, and they wanted to go and prepare spices to put on his body. And as we read through this, we realize, like, once they get to the tomb, things have changed. So when it says here, they found this stone rolled away from the tomb entrance. So we get to reading in this, they don't tell you the weight of the stone, but it says in here that multiple men would have to move this stone. So it says early Sunday morning they discovered the stone rolled away from the tomb's entrance. Pontius Pilate was worried that Jesus' disciples might try to remove his body. Therefore, a large stone was put at the entranceway. The stone was massive and weighed a lot. It didn't elaborate on the weight, but it said multiple men, strong men, would have to move this stone. So, with that being said, you know, we go there and we know the big stone was there to start off with, and all of a sudden it's been rolled away. Could you imagine what was going through their mind and things like what's going on? What's going on? And you know, sometimes you see things in modern day life that how's that? I'm bad to use this as an example, but the tornado was destroyed. I mean, it's just, one time it's beautiful towns or cities or something, then all of a sudden this rubble. And it's just a massive amount of debris. Verses 3. But when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. So touching on a dead, so here that Jesus had spoke to them before. It says touching a dead body was considered unclean. Back in this time, there were many grave robbers. This is what the women thought when there was no body to be found. So that was the first thing that come to their mind. That somebody come there, took the linens and whatever else, fabric, assets that may have been placed there. They had just robbed that area, removed his body. But we know this wasn't the case. Verse 4. While they were wondering about this, suddenly 2 men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. So, in perspective, all of us have seen bad lightning. And sometimes we'll probably, shimmer down or hunker down. Could you imagine 2 people appearing that's brighter than lightning beside you? Or could you imagine going down here to the gravesite to go visit the one you loved, and all of a sudden the grave was opened up and no body to be found, but yet just a radiant light that you couldn't even see? It's so bright. So I couldn't imagine what they went through. I can't imagine that it was super spooky. It says, with their spices in hand, to enter the tomb, to care for the body of Jesus. With their surprise, Jesus' body wasn't there. 2 men appeared like lightning from the sky and stood beside them. Later, the 2 men were considered angels sent down by Jesus. So later, in reading the text, it says that it was 2 angels. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Verses 5. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, why do you look for the living among the dead? So I guess it was sort of like ironic for them, the women, to go. And first, ironic would be women going to the grave. And because the men were the ones that pretty much, had to say so-and-so has disappeared, so-and-so's been robbed or something. And I thought it was ironic that the ladies came in. It says, at this stage, Jesus was no longer dead, but walking with his people, both alive in body and spirit. He walks with the living. So at this time, he's walking with all of us spiritually in body. Thought that meant a lot to save us from our sins. Verse 6. He is not here. He is risen. Remember how he called you while he was still with you in Galilee. So, I guess I'll go back to the school teachers and the people that's boss men and supervisors now. How can, a lot of times you tell somebody something, mention it multiple times, they remember, but then they forget. Then all of a sudden something happens. Oh yeah, that's what you see. If I stick my finger in that trap, it will clamp on me or something, It's like they have to experience it before they can, the light bulb goes off again. So I thought that was pretty interesting on, any job or anything you're doing.
Mark, that could be just with the husband and Mark too.
Yeah, it's just like, some people always heard the old saying, went in one ear and went out the other.
Yeah.
But what you want to retain, most people can retain it. But at the time, you think it's not. Not really. pertained to me, I just let it, then all of a sudden something will happen. Well, that's exactly what they said. There's a detour, you know, you be going down traveling somewhere. So there's a detour on such and such a road. Oh, well, it's probably, you know, during the week. Then all of a sudden you get there. Then you aggravate what you said because you didn't do what the sign said or what information you got. So anyways, we all fall for that sometimes. We think we're right and they're wrong. But anyways, that's how it is. It says Jesus' resurrection comes from all three persons of the Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Jesus had told his people what was going to happen, but until it does, it is hard to accept and believe. Therefore, we experience a lot at this at his giving time. At this given time, the fulfillment of his prophecy is all-knowing and all-powerful. There was no surprise when all these things took place in Jesus' time. So Jesus knew this was going to happen. He didn't know the time. Or at least that's how I there again, when I put this in my terms, I think this is my opinion. But he knew, he told them what was going to happen. But yet, somehow they let it sort of like slip away and they didn't retain it until it actually did happen. Then they got to remember that this is what he told them. So, I'm just thankful that I can't predict the future because, you know, a lot of things, you'd be scary thoughts, you know, a lot of things that we could predict the future. So, but it was sort of, in his case, it was a joyous time, maybe not for him, but for all of us. Because he was saving us from our sin. He done this strictly for us. But we don't learn nothing else this week. Please don't let this go out of your ears. Keep it contained. He done all this for us to free us from our sins. But we got to do our part also to make this work. Verses 7. The Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners, be crucified, and on the third day be raised again. Says, okay, I'm going to look at this and I'll read that. Women regarded by society as unreliable receive the blessings of being the first to witness Jesus' resurrection. And like I said, I think this was set up for some odd reason for a turning point in women's life. Because he sent them there, and then knowing that no men, nobody would actually believe what they're telling or see. They say, that's nonsense. You don't know what you're saying. Anyway, I think there was a reason behind all that. For the benefit of the women, the angels repeat to the main points of Jesus' teaching regarding his suffering and resurrection. The message of the angels is not based on any one particular teaching of Jesus. Instead, it blends several of his teachings found. So, you know, like I said, there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of reason behind ladies going to the grace site. Verses 8 and 9. Then they remembered his words. So here we go back to remember the words that mentioned multiple, I don't know, years, months, could have been days ago. But anyways, there was words that were mentioned. And now they say, I remember your words. When they came back from the tomb, they told these things to the 11 and to all the others. So, like I said, they're trying to relay a message that his body isn't there, that nobody wants to listen. And they say, that's nonsense. The women recalled Jesus' teaching led them to act, and they returned to the other followers of Jesus. The women became the first to proclaim the good news of Jesus' resurrection. Their mission field first consisted of the 11 remaining apostles of Jesus. Then expanded to including all the others of Jesus' followers in Jerusalem. So they went back and told the people, the apostles first, and then they addressed the other people. And like I said, most of them said, no, that's nonsense, that can't be true. It's like, sometimes, anybody ever speak in here to somebody, you have to say it over and over, and they just still don't hear you, or don't want to hear you, or don't just say you're crazy or something. I assume that's how they felt. Verses 10. It was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the others with him who told this to the apostles. So it gives a little breakdown. It says Mary Magdalene was delivered from the 7 demons. So before she accepted Jesus, she had 7 demons. And it sort of gives a little breakdown. I don't give much information, but just enough to sort of you wonder, why did they follow him? And the more you read, it finally come to this text here that said, give a little bit of a breakdown on each one. And Joanna was the manager of Herod. And we know from Herod's experience, though, she wouldn't even be able to live, if she believed in Jesus Christ. So it said Joanna was the manager of Herod's household, though her husband had a high position in Herod's house. If he knew this, likely he would alienated from his household. So that was, she was going out on a major limb to support Jesus Christ. And the second Mary, and this is sort of here, y'all can elaborate more on this because this might be a good question to ask y'all, see if y'all listening today or not. Second Mary, mother of James, it says, by one person, it says she was Jesus' mother. By Luke's perspective, it said that she might be Jesus' half brother. So, Tina, can you elaborate on that? Is that any? I don't know. I just sort of caught me off guard, and I thought, well, what does anybody know? Where's Pharaoh at? I need Pharaoh in here. But I just curious if anybody ever heard anything different. So it's half brother. Okay. Because I thought if I got two questions or two answers, I want to know which one's right. Or do you do all the above or something, But anyways, I didn't know, so I thought maybe I would ask that question. Verses 11. But they did not believe the women because of their words seemed to them like nonsense. And this is sort of like a layout of the laws back then. It says the law of Moses did not prohibit the testimony of women. However, by the 1st century AD, Jewish historian Joseph had wrote that a woman's testimony was disallowed. So, with that being said, that tells you way back then, I guess women needed to just be quiet because nobody was going to listen to them. It just don't make no sense. But anyways, and then it says, regardless of who the message came from, the apostles doubted the validity of an empty tomb and the resurrection of Jesus. Such occurrence seemed like nonsense. Numerous tests regarding the resurrection would do little to persuade them. So no matter what they did or how they produced an answer to the men or people, no one would believe them, no matter what they did. So could you imagine how they felt? It's like, I know what I seen or I know what I experienced, but yet nobody
Yeah, does anybody ever feel that way sometime at work? Like if you're doing something, it's like, nobody even recognizes what I'm talking about or looks at me like I have 4 heads or something. But anyways, it's just part of life this day and time. Verses 12. Peter, however, got up and ran to the tomb. Bending over, he saw the strips of linen lying by themselves. And he went away, wondering to himself what had happened. So he had heard what they had said, and truthfully, I don't think he believed it. I think he had to go and experience it himself, because there's been so many people buried before, and robbers take everything. They don't leave anything. So when he went to the tomb, or inside the tomb, he experienced some linens left. So he knew right then something other than robbers had took place. It says, Peter is not portrayed as big, lackadaisical, or disinterested. Instead, he ran to the tomb, ignoring any personal association with the running. It said, on arrival, he saw that the tomb was not empty. Buried garments laid by themselves. A robber would have unwrapped the linens, burial strips from the body, and left them behind in the tomb. So this wouldn't happen if it was robbed. So seeing a tomb without Jesus' body did not lead to an immediate response of faith for Peter. Instead, he went away from the tomb and was left wondering what had happened to the body of the Lord. Peter's journey of faith had come to another crucial juncture. He had once experienced or expressed faith that Jesus was God's Messiah. Under pressure, had denied knowing Jesus. Peter now faced the challenge of women's message. Would he believe that Jesus' teaching regarding his resurrection had come to pass? So, how many of us have been told something and went somewhere to see it for ourselves? Like, I know what they're saying, but I don't believe them, but I'm going to go right by and see it for myself. Pretty much all of us. So, and then, even though Peter still has a hard time believing some of this stuff, but overall, he finally figures it out. All right, in conclusion, it says, for women at the tombs, the angels brought true good news. Jesus had defeated death as it had been raised from the dead. As a result, he is now the resurrected King who rules over all creation. Although other disciples initially doubted the women's witness, those same disciples would eventually see their resurrection Lord. They received and believed in the good news they were called to proclaim in the whole world. The good news of the resurrection began with the women's witness and went out to all nations. We believers have a role to play in proclaiming that very same news. Followers of Jesus Christ are called to proclaim the good news of Jesus' resurrection to the world. Are you merely believing that good news, or are you also providing or proclaiming that good news to the world? So sometimes, I'm going to say this, if some lady comes up to you or your wife comes up to you and says something, please listen to her. It might be good news. But anyways, we just got to listen and lend an ear, and hopefully this was a turning point in women's lifetime that, that let's listen. Everybody has opinions, and we need to listen, lend an ear and listen to them and see what we can discover without doubt. Let's just put it there, without doubt. So that's all I have today. I was hoping Tina would give us a little more answer. That way it would help me on my time frame. Come here.
This Mary that they're talking about here, the mother of James, they feel in most is Mary, the mother of James and John,
Okay.
instead of the mother of Jesus. So it is a different Mary. It talks about the three Marys. One was the mother of Jesus, one was the mother of James and John, and then Mary Magdalene.
Okay, all right, so that's good news, that's good news. Thank you, Tina.
Give me a minute and I will read.
That's a good thing about Google or something. Thank you. Well, that's all I have today. I hope y'all have a good week and enjoy this Easter time frame. Thank you.